Jeg skal lige bare kort give lige orientering om, at vores chef Tore Dyberg, han er på vej. Der går lige 5 minutter mere for Innovationsfonden, og jeg har et arrangement med forhåbentlig en gruppe af jer senere. Kunne jeg lige se en hånd på nogle af dem, der skal deltage i noget bagefter? Godt. Jeg skal lige have tilsendt lokalnummeret nu. Ja, det mangler. Og så ellers en anden kollega hernede, han hedder Jakob, og sidder også hernede fra Innovationsfonden. Så vi tager også imod spørgsmål som lidt slags bagefter, men Tore, han er altså klar.
Hello? You hear me? Okay, thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting. We had a very good discussion with Brian and his team time, and so sorry for the delay here. So very warm welcome to this information meeting, and hopefully with good questions about Innovation Fund Denmark. The purpose we're here is really to inform you as well as possible, and to give you a good understanding of the possibilities for you. And I think also there are a lot of perceptions and thinking that may be right or wrong. And I think that we need to give you a good clarity of what the different offerings, what that means for you. This is just a few facts about the Innovation Fund Denmark. It's a fairly big fund. It's a public fund. We have an investment portfolio of around 8 billion Danish kroner, active projects with our investments, and then there are co-investments. So quite a lot of projects. Actually, we have almost 2,000 active projects, small projects, and very large projects, the whole scale. We have also a lot of proposals each year. We have more than 3,000, so it's a tough competition to access these investments, these grants. And we have a lot of projects, but it's quite simple. We only have 3 doors into Innovation Fund Denmark. I'll come back to that later. So 3 entries, 3 investment schemes that you need to orient towards. We have a lot of international programs. We have 250 projects which are international in Horizon 2020 and bilateral and Eurostars. There are a lot of these as well. In 2018, we are on the fiscal law, so that was ready in December. We are 1.4 billion Danish kroner that we are ready to invest in 2018. So now it depends really that you are also ready to invest your time and engagement and write good applications. And a little bit about how we're thinking. When it comes to, we're research-based. We have both in the research. That's our starting point. So it is all about having excellent research. That's sort of the entry ticket to our system. And you will see that we use a lot of the same concepts as in Horizon 2020. So it's based on research, on science. Then we are also obsessed by how we can make this work to create value. And I'm not thinking only about value as a monetary value, but very much how these solutions can come to the benefit for society. So think about value as in a very broad sense. The monetary value is of course important, but it's also the broad value for society that we're looking for. A lot of technological solutions are not necessarily ready for implementation, even if it's good technology. So you'll see that we ask our applicants to think about how they work with society, how they make their projects ready and adapted for society. It may be on a very low level when you start, but we expect that there is a good dialogue and a good understanding of the societal impact on the societal needs and perceptions and so on. So this is the way we evaluate projects. Just an example of in the manufacturing sector in Denmark, how we make research and innovation to work with a broad range of companies. MADE is Manufacturing Academy of Denmark, and here we saw in 2017 that the results looked quite interesting. We saw that we started to have really interesting results, and we asked Danvad to make an evaluation of this program. And this is what we got. The report is available on our homepage, and we looked at the different scenarios of new technologies being implemented in industry in Denmark. And we see that there are scenarios towards a very, very big societal impact on the manufacturing industry in Denmark. And as you know, manufacturing in Denmark is under pressure from outsourcing, low labor costs. Our way of doing it is doing by automation and adapting new technologies. And this is something that we're pushing with this project. A little caveat to this is also how this benefits the research involved in the project. There is a quite good production of research and publications, and actually, even though it seems that the quality in this area of impact is going a little bit down, the publications coming out from MADE, they're generally having a higher impact than the others. And that's well known that impact is strongly influenced by a strong collaboration between industry and academia. So we're ready with 1.4 billion kroners for investments. And it's not only about money, we're also spotting new trends. We look at the future labor market. We had a report last year and a big conference on how new technology will impact the labor market. And maybe you remember from the McKinsey report that 40% of the tasks that we're doing today can be automated by the technology which is already available. That's something everybody knows. It puts some pressure on how to deal with technology in the future. We also looked at how small and medium-sized companies, which is the vast majority of the private economy, how to predict flooding after heavy rain, a new system being implemented. And this last one is also a health project where you use salt water as drip in patients with sepsis and other or kidney failures, replacing actually quite dangerous medicine, and has already been used quite a lot in Denmark, saving lives and also saving money. And now it's expanding internationally. So we have, as I said in the beginning, we have 3 entries. Lot of possibilities, but you only have to think about these 3 entries based on what type of project you want. Many of you here, I think you come here to hear about grant solutions. Is that right? But I would also like to talk about InnoBooster. I want to talk about the talent area because all these things are connected. It's a form of an ecosystem, so if you think about grant solutions, it may be also relevant for you to think about some of the other entries, and I'll explain why. The talent area, it's mostly known for the industrial PhD, but we also introduced the industrial postdoc. It is a Danish classic, has existed for 45 years in Denmark, but I can tell you, we get visits from abroad to hear about our experience with the industrial PhD and postdoc. So it is something that is documented, being very effectful. Students, they generally no unemployment, they get a higher salary and so on. So it's a very successful scheme with the PhDs. It also, for you sitting at the universities, it is also a way for you to expand your network, to work across academia and industry, and also to make projects that could grow and become grant solutions. So some of you are very good at doing this. So you have had several industrial PhDs and postdocs, and you have expanded your network, and you are more prone to get bigger projects later. And so that is the talent area, but we also have the young entrepreneurs, what we call the Innofounder. Not everybody from the university are going to be a full professor. That was not the idea. And maybe they're not going into research, but they may have, during their studies, a very clever idea. And we take the best one of those young students and give them a minimum salary so they get some peace to mature their idea and their business model. We give them coaching and we give them some basic, funding for equipment and so on. And actually many of them, they are successful. They introduce their products on the market. They survive, they employ. We've had this for 3 years. So that is also something that you, if you're a professor and you have students, think about this possibility. Some universities are very good at promoting this possibility of entrepreneurships to their students. Then we have the InnoBooster, and many from the university will say it has nothing to do with us, because it is funding for small and medium-sized enterprises. But InnoBooster, in many cases, they need one of the students coming from the universities. They may need to have a collaboration with you to develop a technology, a solution. So a lot of the InnoBooster, they're heavily involved with universities to get access to that knowledge they need. So in this sense, you're a sub-supplier. I know maybe that doesn't sound so great, but it's a way for you to do great research into something which is relevant for smaller companies. And again, we need to bring universities and companies together around this scheme. Then we have the grant solutions. Those are, the name says it, it's bigger investments, longer term, more research-heavy projects, and all from 5 million to our highest investment of 80 million. So typically projects from 3 to 5 years, and most of the projects are investments of around 50 to 30 million kroners. But it's a whole range from a few millions up to 80 millions. The scheme is a little bit different from the others. We have 2 application rounds in 2018, and we have different calls which are thematic. So that's grant solution. We'll come back to it. This is an example of an InnoBooster. It's also Aarhus-based, and it's about developing a glue, an adhesive to connect metal and other materials like rubber and plastic, which is not trivial. It's actually quite difficult. So it's a nano adhesive which is formed through an InnoBooster and research from here. Another one, an industrial researcher working with universal robots to refine their collaborative robots, also from Aarhus. A new smart bandage to help patients with chronic wounds, which is a huge problem. Alone in Denmark, we have 20,000 people suffering chronic wounds. They can't really feel them because they're suffering from diabetes, and they have a reduced sensing. And this way you can help the patients to monitor their wounds, also for kidney patients. Small investments in Innofounder, and something with a potential to be something great. So back to grant solutions. We have the thematic calls. They are a little bit different from what you've been seen in previous years. We're quite happy that the politicians have made some big headlines and not gone into details. So you have to orient towards the big headlines and not the fine lines that we have seen before, with very detailed political text. So we're quite happy about that. We have the green growth. So all of you working within energy, environment, bioresources, everything is under the theme of green growth. I would also recommend, if you're from social sciences and humaniora, that you also orient towards these calls, even though it's not in the headline. They may be extremely relevant as part of these projects. New technological opportunities is also a very, very broad headline. I think you should read much digital into it, but it could also be digital in any sector. And you can read the text. It actually gives a lot of different opportunities. Better health and clinical research. So it's healthcare. Again, it's very much on the societal side of things. So think about it as social sciences and humaniora being an important integrated part. It is about the public sector. It is about the hospitals and the welfare. So that is also. It's not only hardcore core life sciences, but it is also very much oriented towards society. The politicians didn't earmark anything for us in social sciences and humaniora, but we think this is so important with our new strategy that we reserved a call specifically for this area, which we call the Future Society. The last call is what we call the open call, which is bottom up. So basically, anything that doesn't fit with the other calls, or something which goes very much across disciplines. It could also be the same as described in the other ones. So it's really a bottom-up program, and we have, I think we can expect to have more than 100 million later this year for the open call. This is the timeline for our Grant Solutions call in 2018. Early December, we launched. Had a pre-launch of the calls, and we have the 3 thematic calls with a deadline the 20th of February. Green growth, new technological opportunities, and health are the 3 thematic calls where we have the deadline 20th of February. And I know with this meeting, if you start thinking about an application now in Grant Solutions and you haven't thought about creating a consortium, is probably too late because it needs a lot of planning to form a consortium and get things right. Then we have the next round that will launch very soon, so you have actually more time to prepare, and we have the deadline the 14th of August. We have the open call, we have new technological opportunity, and we have future society. Why we have future society here is that we have launched a new strategy, and we really want to go into dialogue with you like we do today, so that you can, prepare and form consortia. We thought it was too early to do this in February, so we have saved that for August. Grant Solutions is not like it used to be with a 2-stage written application. It's only one written application. We don't want to do too much paperwork and redundancy, so it's only one written application. Then we have evaluate, and those applications that we think has a realistic good chance of reaching the goal of funding, we select for interview. So when you're selected for interview, you have a fair chance of succeeding. So it's approximately 50% chance of success, statistically speaking, when you reach the interview level. The whole Grant Solution scheme, the success rate varies from 10 to 20%. So if you reach the interview, you have a good chance. Our experience is that it is very good to have both written and also having a dialogue with the applicants. Because sometimes there could be questions, things that are not very clear in the written application, which becomes much clearer when you have a discussion about it. So we're quite happy about that, and those who have been through it have been extremely positive. It has also allowed us to shorten the time for evaluation from basically what you see in Horizon 2020, 1 year to 1.5 years, down to 100 days. And those ones who really miss the call, which are not qualified, they get a very quick message and they don't have to worry too much about that. They can prepare to do better next time. We haven't made a lot of changes in 2018. One change, which is actually not written here, is the budget. The budget is different because we used to love having a flat rate of 750 kroners for salary, but we found out that we couldn't continue with this. The EU states aid law it's really not compatible with this, so we're going towards actual costs. You can read all about this in our guidelines with the investment level of the different categories, because there are different rules for small companies, for big companies, whether you're early in the value chain or later in the value chain. You can get all the technical information in our guidelines. For the small companies where they do not have any significant salaries, we can also run this under what we call the de minimis rules, where they get an exception from the state aid rules and can use the 750 kroners model. So that is a possibility for very small companies where they do not generate a lot of income. Apart from that, there are some technical simplifications, optimizing things that did not work ideally with the IT system. Also on the budget has been, the technical side of it has been updated. And we have only, on your side, only one point of contact during the evaluation. There is a small change here, which I think has a strong signal. That is the summary. In our experience, the summaries are sometimes, not so clear what it is about and why this is a good idea. And it creates also a little bit doubt whether the applicants really and the consortium agree what they are describing. So we think it is useful, at least for us, but we think also for you, to think about this more as a pitch summary, where you describe the research and innovation of the projects, the key points, what is the need for this future solution, what is the value, both in terms for, could be companies, for public sector, for society as a whole, very short and precise about the value, and how this project is structured to be effective accomplishing the goals. So a classical summary, moreover to a pitch summary, where you get a very clear framing of the project. Yes. Then I will say a little bit about our international programs. I'm sure that some of you are very used to work towards Horizon 2020, that you have collaborators abroad and so on, or that you want to have more network abroad. So we have different calls. Basically, we have what is under Horizon 2020. We have the countries that Denmark work closely with in a bilateral context of strategic importance. And then we have the Eurostars, which is something which is mainly for small, but also for big companies, also for universities, where Denmark has been extremely successful. And then we have things that we have started ourselves, together with the Nordic countries, with Sweden, we have started an initiative on personalized medicine. We get Norway very interested in it. Finland joined, and even Iceland put almost 1 million euros into this call. So we have a call on personalized medicine between the Nordic countries of, we hope, 100 millions with the co-funding from Norforsk. And you have to see this, if you're in the health area, connected to the IC permit, which is a big JPI under Horizon 2020, which is quite slow, important but slow. And doing the Nordic call, we position the Nordic countries into the IC permit later on, and the agenda on personalized medicine. Then we have also on a few other ERA-nets, and these ERA-nets, these are the ones that we expect to be financed this year. There are many others, and we have a discussion right now with on a strategic level with the universities and other influencers, which calls are the most important, which ERA-nets are the most important, where should we as a small country focus strategically to get the best out of it from a technical scientific point of view, but also how can we get the best funding opportunities. In Denmark, we have for a long time participated with, in everything, but not getting enough out of it. So we have an agreement that we need to focus more strategically and stronger on fewer and more effective instruments. And that's what we're doing here, and we're aiming for a strong priorities and an effort in the international area. We have never put as much money in the international programs. We have reserved around 150 million for 2018. Maybe it will be a little bit higher depending on what we decide to do with the different with universities and so on. As I mentioned, it's not only about money. There are a lot of other activities and putting focus on areas where we think there is a need and there are opportunities. I mentioned the Roskilde Festival. We also do our Inno Talks, where we put focus on labor market, on different themes of importance. And we do a lot of things to make this available for the broader public. We think this is an investment for Denmark, investing in science, innovation, and new technologies. And we think that we have a collective responsibility to make politicians, to make people aware of these opportunities. It's exciting, but it's also a good investment for Denmark. So we get a lot of stories. I don't know if you saw Børsen writing about the new AM line being headquartered in Aarhus with a big investment from us, doing 3D printing in metal for the general industry. So that is an example. We have the Inno Talks. Last we had some well-known people attending and speaking, and sometimes we get in on TV and prime time some of your stories, like we had with Skammelsen a few times during 2017. A lot, almost every day in the newspapers we have stories which basically are about our projects, supported by us, and we think this is an important part. So we help you to come on stage and being visible for the greater audience. We also have a newsletter, and I know you're bugged by newsletters and you put them in your spam filter, but actually this one is useful. You get the information first, so you don't have to be late with the deadlines and different changes. So I can recommend to subscribe to our newsletter to be well informed about what we're doing. So that was a very short story about a lot of the things that we do, and I would really like you have questions, or maybe you have complaints, and that could also be a good opportunity to take it now. Could be more technical things, whatever you want to ask. So I'll give the word to you. Thank you. Yes?
Thank you for a great presentation. To what extent do you encourage collaborations with international universities and so on?
Thank you for that question, because I forgot to say it. Brand Solutions is completely open for foreign universities and also foreign companies. And we actually do not think that that applicants are use that opportunity enough. So if you make a big consortium, say this is the first in the world, we're going to do something which is unique and being the best. Maybe you need to go to Heidelberg instead of going to Copenhagen. I don't know, but we want to have the best competences, and it's unrealistic to think that you can find all the best competences within a relatively small country like Denmark. So yes, and we support them economically like any other. Yes?
How steady for international collaboration in China, Brazil, etc.? When do you expect them to be announced?
I expect, this is a little bit diplomacy, with ambassadors and so on, and their state visits. But that aside, I think that we have the necessary agreements with China. I think it will be in April, by my best guess. And then with a little bit of luck, India as well. So I just want to mention so that you're not like being aware of these calls when they appear public. So you know that we're working on these calls. If you work within water technology, environment, and so on, that will probably fit into to this. And if you have contacts or want to see contacts with these countries, that may be the call of choice that you have. Yes?
When you say that you're allowed to think very broadly about the concept of value, is it so broad that it includes aesthetic value, well-being of individuals, and say the spirit in the workplace?
I didn't get clearly.
You say that we should
Yes.
think of the concept value very broadly.
Yes.
So I ask you, does it then include also aesthetic value, the spirit in the workplace, and personal well-being?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you're thinking about, but I think that there is sort of maybe a misunderstanding of the monetary value, because monetary value is in most cases sort of the engine towards a higher purpose. Monetary value could be, making hospitals more accommodating, better outcome, more efficient, and so on. So monetary value is it's not either monetary value or societal value. They are very often combined, and I think that without knowing exactly what you're thinking, I think these type of values could add in very importantly. So I would say yes. I think there was a perception about Innovation from Denmark being very strict on the monetary value. We still are, because even though things are going better, we have gone compared with the World Economic Forum from a number 3 to a number 12 in a few years. That was published a few days ago. So that is a problem. The relative growth that Denmark has as a country is very decisive for the future. So we still think that growth and employment is important, but you have to see this in a societal context. So when we think about environment, if we think about happiness, it could be important. So it's not either this or that, but I think we need to be more clear that the thinking about value, we have to think broadly to harvest, all aspects, value aspects. Yes.
I found it very interesting what you said about the pitch summary, to kind of sharpen what you aim at in the project. Specifically how the project is structured. And my question to you is, in what you put into the term structured, when you something about how you evaluate.
The question is about the pitch summary and how and what I said about the structure, probably the effectiveness.
Yeah, it's about effectiveness. Yeah.
About effectiveness. We see when projects do not go well, it is due to, in most cases, so we have statistics on that, in most cases it's related to project management, poor collaboration, and so on. So having, the right partners, being structured well, to have frequent meetings and milestones, and the whole operation around it makes the project more likely to succeed. So it is how you want to do it that is also important here. It's not about only having the best idea and having a dream scenario of value, but also how you want to do it. So very short, what is unique about the way, or it doesn't have to be unique, but how do you want to do it in a convincing way? So in the pitch summary, it's very short. You will get enough space to write about it later on in the application. Yes?
Actually, I just started working in Denmark, so and actually I don't know if exactly Danish like a research trend. So how can I search in the previous project list?
Yes, the examples that I mentioned very shortly here, it's on our project gallery. So we have a project gallery. It's not perfect, the good stories, but it's not like you can't really. It's not as the browser mechanism in it. It's not like Google. So we're working on it, but we have a lot of project in our gallery. So that's where you can find them. Was that all, or you had other things? Yes.
If you already have a grand solution project going on, can you allowed to apply for another one?
Sure.
With a different project?
Yeah.
And in a boost as well?
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. I would say one thing which is important. Sometimes there's still this idea about having, the most fantastic CV promoting the application. It's good, but if this person puts only very limited time into the project, doesn't really give the, it's not enough. We want to have strong competences, but they also use time. So when you think about having several projects, we also look at how you allocate time from key people. So, but of course, many people are involved in different projects at the same time. Yes?
In your presentation today, you mentioned the impact of publications from one of the projects that you presented.
Yes?
From what I have learned, you don't put much impact on that in the value creation. It's not really about us mentioning this will result in the publication of 3 or 6 peer-reviewed publications, but more the value creation for them. What's your reflection on that?
Yeah, well, it's not a success criteria just to publish.
No.
But we appreciate the knowledge being created, and publications. That's important. It's something also which is something that you have to discuss in a consortium, where there are different perspectives. You need to publish, and we respect that you need to publish. and because that's how you're measured. You're not going to be full professors if you don't publish and if you do not have impact. So we have full respect for it. But in itself, it's not the aim of these projects. But we fully respect and understand that you need a scientific production. And we also, I think we're going to increase our communication on the strong scientific results coming out of our projects. I think it's time now also to demonstrate and maybe boost the myth that these type of projects do not support excellent research, but because it does. It is well known that generally speaking, publications coming up from public partnerships, universities, and industry, generally they have a higher impact, a higher quality. Some people are still surprised, but it's a fact. Yes?
Within the specific themes of the grant solutions, to what extent do you encourage interdisciplinarity?
Very much. I think we have very few, which I don't think we have any, that is only multidisciplinary. And I think that they're very broad when you green growth and all this, basically there are a lot of different disciplines. A lot of the energy projects is basically, it's about digital solutions. A lot of energy projects, it's about material science. A lot of healthcare could be material science, or it could be social science, or a combination of it. So we very strongly encourage you to think about other disciplines that could complement and make the project stronger. Yes?
I don't know if we should wait for the questions for our future society, but you have these 30 millions. Have you already decided how many projects you want to fund with these? Are they going to be the small ones, 5 million, or could you apply for 30?
I think we do not like to have very square rules about everything. I think that we will sort of give you an idea that these projects will be in the range of, Bettina help me, 3 to 8 million or something like that. If you work on maybe something where you feel that you're restricted by the core budget, maybe it's another call that you should think about. So it's not like everything needs to go into this one. It is basically to make sure that we have full focus on this area, but it could go into other areas as well. But relatively small in this call, I think. Yes?
What key points would you highlight from a successful application for the industry?
Ooh. That was I'm not so familiar with them, but so if you repeat your question, the highlight.
Say something general about successful applications for industrial PhDs. What are the highlights or the common denominators for these?
Well, I do not read these ones. I would say I will make it even more general that you need to be aware of. But other than that, there is a committee reading these ones. They're not going directly to us. So I haven't really read the application and see what is wrong and what's right. But you can call our colleague Klaus, who's sitting with them, and he will have full hands-on and give you better answers than I can. Yes.
To what extent do you encourage joint funding? So you have a bid for you. Do you take bids that rely on funding from a number of foundations, for example, or would you like to do so?
No. We love financial hearing, so we like that what we put into a project becomes much more. So the more that you can get by co-funding other places to do even more, we love it. And sometimes we try to coordinate, or we're trying actually to coordinate if we could do some calls in common, or do to make sure it happens. It's a fairly difficult discipline, but we talk and coordinate a lot across public and private funds. But we love it. That's the short answer. Yes.
What can you tell us a little bit about what are the demands for the level of research in the project? I mean, it can be research and innovation, or it ought to be both of them. I mean, you're asking for excellence in the research and innovation, but talking about industrial developments, projects, innovation projects in the industry, they are not all taking care of research in that respect. Is there a demand for research, or can it be innovation where you?
I think that grant solutions they're research based and based on excellent research. Whether all this research is being conducted in a project or is built on previous scientific results, that's maybe not so important. I think with the companies, well, there are companies doing excellent research. I've been working almost 20 years in the pharmaceutical industry, so there are examples of that. And I think it is important that you do what you are good at. So you're not trying to be a company while you're in university, and companies they may drive a different part of the project. But some of our projects are very early in the value chain, smaller, very close to basic research. Like the quantum technology is, groundbreaking research in quantum technology, very close to basic research. Whereas others are more late in the value chain, more on proof of concepts, demonstrations of concepts and so on, being, time to market being shorter, where much of the research has maybe been done previously. So it's different, and we want to, give space enough for all type of projects. Project in the early with very strong involvement of research, and later on when the research basically has already been conducted and we're harvesting from the research. So we try to be as flexible as possible. We don't even say that in a grant solution you need to have a company involved. It's maybe a very good idea if you want to understand how this is going to be brought out into implementation, but we don't say that you need to do this or that. That's basically for you to convince that you have a strong fundament and that you're able to transform it to something that has a value somewhere. I think I had one question there, and I think one there, and then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just could we ask you questions about in the fund as well, or could we talk to one of you afterwards?
Yeah.
We have a few questions for the.
Okay. If it's a more like discussion, you can catch one of us here. Yes.
Yeah. Great.
Yes. Good. One here. You had a question? No. Yeah. Yes.
These days I made a decision with actually I want to make a project of further Eurostat 2.
On
Eurostat 2.
Yes.
It's one of the common criteria is within the 2 years I may customize some item. So what is exactly definition of the customization? Because we did think is launching the product in the market or just a prototype, making a prototype item, or what is this exactly the mean of the customization?
I'm not sure I understand completely. I think in most of our projects, you're different parts in the value chain. It's not necessarily that you're going all the way. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because one of the projects is Eurostructure.
Yes.
One of the criteria for this project
Yes.
is within the 2 years,
Yes.
I have to making some product, and then criteria is a customization
Yeah.
of item, my project item.
Yeah.
But I don't know exactly what's the meaning of a customization item.
I don't think it's a criterion in the program of Eurostars that you that.
They said that this project purpose is for the small, medium corporation. For that.
Yes, it's the small and medium-sized enterprises that sort of the prime target, but also.
So they said that actually when I connected with the Innovation Foundation, they said you have to make some item, making a customization of your item within the 2 years. So I don't understand exactly what's the meaning of this. So do I need to launch it in the market, or just make
I don't think that's right. I think read the guidelines, and I think it's much more flexible than that. We have some questions up here. Yes?
The program says that the second part of the presentation would focus on the founder and the user. Did you get into more details around that, or?
I think that's maybe there has been a little bit misunderstanding in the program. We've been touring around, and I strongly think that it is important to talk about all the possibilities, because even if you're university or industry, all these ones are sort of connected. So we haven't made sort of specific sessions on these ones. I would say whatever you are doing, we are available. You can find out phone numbers and emails. We have a lot of meetings. We have a lot of dialogue. So if you want to have a discussion with us, please contact us. The only thing I would like to ask you is that you read the guidelines and that stuff, because then we do not have to spend time on all the technical details. And you're free to come down here afterwards and talk to us about if you have specific questions, but we didn't separate them up. We think it makes more sense to talk about all of them. Yes?
Question regarding resolutions on the project side. I know that you try not to infuse with too many fixed formats, but a project where a knowledge institution, university, college, tests the function and business case of several different products within an area, for example, healthcare. Would that be a relevant grant solution?
Could be, yes. There are very few stereotype projects where you say this is a typical grant solutions. So basically, we see so many different variants of it. So it's difficult to say this. What you say, if you can demonstrate that it's unique and you have a good way of doing it and it creates value, then it's then it qualifies. More questions? Complaints, maybe? Yes?
In the green growth theme, I understand that just like in any other big themes, there has to be some benefit. You have to there has to be more or less a direct benefit of research and the innovation for the Danish economy, right? But sometimes the solutions that are developed are more of sort of global public good kind of thing, climate mitigation, climate adaptation sort of thing. So the direct and indirect thing may become a bit blurred. I mean, how would you deal with that?
I think that was a little bit what I tried to say, that we have to look at different aspects of value. What you're describing, like clean nature, or it has a very general value. It may also have an economical value, which is quite significant.
May well be a global one.
Yeah. But look at water is the new black. Everybody's talking about water treatment, water being one of the more scarce resources, and that there are technological solutions to it. We're quite good at it in Denmark. You're quite good at it at the universities. But we think that the value of it is maybe a little bit limited in Denmark. But for thinking about exporting these solutions, like to India and other countries, may be a tremendous value, both in terms of well-being in those countries, but also for export of our knowledge and our technology. So I think that in many, if you're doing this right, you will see that you can do both. And maybe the greater value, you need some economic incentives to make it happen. Because if not, it would be very sympathetic, but it won't happen because there are no incentives. So it's depending on the incentives of it. So I urge you to think large about value. Okay, so I think I'm staying here, and I also have my colleague Jakob here, and René, who is very much here in Aarhus. It's our man in Aarhus, and Bettina, we're here. So if you have questions, please come forward. So thank you very much for your attention, and look forward to your applications.